Hi there, I'm Emily Perkins and this is The Good Word, a series about books and the people who love them. Coming up this time, a special guest drops by to talk about her favourite book. We get up close with a real-life book club.
We've read some quite gruelling books, like We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I found that so tough.
And in our Under the Covers series, Finlay MacDonald tells the story behind another famous New Zealand book.
If I was in the company of people who are the experts in New Zealand lit, who would tell me that Jane Mander shouldn't be up there, I would take them on, yeah. I'd take them on, I'd defend her to the last. I'd fight on the banks of the Kaiwaka River for her.
But ahead of all that excitement, we're going to let loose our panel on this week's book. First up, writer and journalist Gordon McLauchlan. Welcome, Gordon.
Nice to be here.
And next, our favourite funny man to Radar. Hi, Radar.
Hello, Emily.
And completing our macho panel this week, the country's chief censor, Bill Hastings. Hello,
Hi,
Bill.
Emily. Thank you for having me back.
This week's book packs a punch both in size and reputation. Wolf Hall is the 12th book by Hilary Mantel and it landed her the 2009 Man Booker Prize. This novel, set in Tudor England, tells the story of those turbulent times through the life of Thomas Cromwell, a brilliant statesman who has the inside track on everything, from Henry VIII's finances to his sex life. So, Gordon, could you cast a statesman-like eye over this for us?
Certainly. I found it a fascinating book. 650 pages, I found it difficult to put down, so I had some late nights. Stylistically brilliant. The use of the word he. Cromwell is actually the narrator, but she uses the word he. And once you get used to that, it's a very compelling way of telling the story. But what interested me more than anything else is the inversion of the historical characters. Thomas More historically is known as a huge intellect, a man of great stature, a man of principle who died for his beliefs. He had his head cut off rather than being disemboweled. That was a favour they did him, which I thought was rather nice. In this book, he comes out as mean-minded, a little man who's an egomaniac and bad to his wife, and just a disaster, which I think is a bit more demeaning than she needed to be. Then Cromwell was the low-born, historically and traditionally, the low-born man who was cunning, ruthless, and manipulated everybody. Well, he comes out in this book as a good family man, a guy who tried to hold the government together and make it work, and quite a moderate man. So that is a really interesting take. It will upset, I should imagine, a lot of Catholics.
Thomas More being a saint.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Cromwell really is the eye of the storm of the court that is around him, isn't he? And he's this very sort of calm, judicious centre. There's so much intrigue and chaos.
So much intrigue and chaos.
How do you think you would have coped?
Oh, I don't know. Unlike Gordon,
jester?
I wasn't a contemporary of Henry VIII. Sorry, Gordon. But all of this intrigue, and the thing that really gets me in this book is that there was no privacy really for the king, and to have, or probably any of the other courtiers, even someone is there with the king, his master of the stall, who handled his privy, a job that we would probably think of as a little bit demeaning. Incredibly powerful position. I don't know if there was hand-holding and brow-stroking involved, but the fact that all of this intrigue, the sexual intrigue and whatnot, goes on inside this very almost open society where everyone knows everyone else's secret.
Wouldn't
and it's
you have loved to be here, though?
Wouldn't it have been utterly fascinating, apart from, obviously, the beheadings, the hanging, drawings and quarterings, and the being burnt at a stake?
That not so much. I mean, it is a place where secrets are deeply important because the church controls everything and sees everything and has such power. And how did you, as a censor, feel about what you were reading here?
It made me yearn for the old days, Emily, the power Wolsey had and the power More had.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting theme of the book in how ideas get disseminated through technology. The printing press was new. The Bible could be printed in English. These were ideas that demystified the church, that made them dangerous and popular. And people were punished for these ideas in ways, of course, which we don't have right now.
Their names weren't simply suppressed.
No. I mean, I have to say, though, that I dreaded reading the first 200 pages of this book until we got to one of the descriptions of the sort of casual savagery of the punishments of the day, which was burning at the stake of the old grandmother because she didn't believe in transubstantiation.
So on the one hand, it seems like a completely other world, and on the other hand, there are these lovely light touches where she talks about things like piracy, to refer to copying something illegally, that we recognise so much as relevant to our time and our new information age and how that's changing.
Yes, but
what about the female characters? Anne Boleyn's a really cool
Oh,
part
yes, she
of
comes
it,
out as a
isn't
very
she?
vicious woman, and Mary Boleyn, her sister, comes out as a kind of everybody's tramp, doesn't she?
Yeah, well, she didn't have much choice. I
But
mean,
interestingly enough, Jane Seymour creeps into the next wife creeps into the story just towards the end, so you can see her bringing her up in the sequel.
And it requires a sequel. Incredibly, after 630 pages, it finishes and you go, oh, but that's not the end.
It's
There's more.
midstream, yeah, and it's only 7 years. We've only covered 7 years.
yeah,
Five
there's
years.
another 5 years of
You
Cromwell's
didn't
life to
finish
go.
it. It's 650 pages.
Oh, right. Yeah, I left the last
Sorry,
few came up short.
He's saving the
I am
the
saving
best bit for last.
It is, and it is a great book, but I would strongly recommend if people are going to read it, take it somewhere where you've got the chance to just swim in it. It's not a
yourself.
book you want to pick up and read 5 or 10 pages a night. You'll never finish it.
Yeah, it's an absolutely wonderful, all-consuming kind of experience, and I, for one, can't wait for the next one. This week's book was Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, who's writing a sequel. It was published by HarperCollins. After the break, a special guest runs in with a favourite book.